welcome to another edition of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Kyle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic because guess what? It is summer. I am done. It
Yay.
is summer break for me.
I'm like, yay.
And you're like, it just continues for you. But
Exactly.
I'm
It
a teacher
does.
on
It
break.
really
So let's
does.
go.
But hey, um, this is now, let's see, this is our third time with this crew. Our
Gosh,
guest
that
today
many.
is a more Philly Union. Um, we plan to do this quarterly. Of course, the first half of the season just flew by. I
Hmm.
mean, it feels like we're still in February, maybe March now. But having said that, we're in June, and finally we just said, let's reconvene at the halfway point. And Paul, Christy, and Eric, welcome back.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
it's great to be back. I can't believe how quick the time passes. It's this is the only thing I'm behind on in my life. Everything else I'm up to speed. But no, it's awesome to be here. I'm glad we got this back on the books.
We're glad to have you. So let's go around the table. What's everybody wearing today? Starting up there with Paul. What are we wearing?
Oh, I've got the lightning bolt kit on today. I actually packed it special just because I knew I was going to be on with you guys.
Oh,
Because I'm actually traveling right now for work into enemy territory in northern New Jersey. So
Oh,
Behind enemy lines.
yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
they didn't
Are
spit
you
in my
close?
Chipotle bowl, so I'm good.
Are you
nice.
close to Harrison there?
I can't be
Ish.
too far away.
Yeah.
I'm in Woodbridge.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not that far.
hmm
Yep. Yeah. Is it personalized or just a blank one?
No, just a blank one.
Nice. That's what we
Nice.
usually do if we get jerseys, but that's one I did not get yet. But
No.
nice. All right.
Yeah.
Eric, what are you wearing? Anything special?
I'm going with this one kind of divides across. So this is the USA jersey from God, when was this? This is
Gotta be 20 years old.
yeah, it's an old
No.
one.
Love
So
it.
No.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, it
very
still has
Classic.
timely.
the old crest.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
It's true.
this one was polarizing. Some people loved it, some people hated it, and
The
I was
hoops.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the Where's Waldo for those who
I was gonna
can't see
say it
it.
does look like where's all the
yeah.
I
yeah.
remember that one.
And
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
kind of an honor because Jack McGlynn, I guess, had a bit of a good
Yeah,
was it the
Galazzo.
U.S. Turkey match, I think,
Yeah.
Yes.
and
Galazzo.
yeah,
59
Mhm.
seconds in.
Yep.
yeah. So it was a Pyrrhic goal, I guess, right? It was a great goal, although the game didn't go as well.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Chrissy, how about you?
This is a tea I made for the boys the first year we had the
Hmm.
podcast. Wait, what? Oh, yay. This is like the emotions and thoughts that go through your head when watching Union games.
Yeah.
It's true.
So I think it was a quote from our first season.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Nice. Love that. I am
We
just wearing it's a just a Philadelphia Union t-shirt I got a few years ago, but it does have Stuart Finley as Finley and four on the back. So
oh,
Nice.
nice.
my all-time
Nice.
favorite Union players.
I'm actually wearing something Union today because I had time to change. I'm wearing the JSP Union shirt. It's the most comfortable shirt in my collection. On the back it says "Doop Doop Doop."
Yeah.
I
Nice.
don't know. It's something I just wear around the house usually when we're recording, working on stuff. It's like my favorite shirt and it wears like iron. Like this thing
Yeah.
does not like
I mean, yeah, the JSP stuff was a little more expensive in some ways, although I got that on discount, but like
it's
they're
quality.
nice stuff, just like the LBF stuff's really nice too. A little pricey, but it's nice.
It
Yeah.
reminds me of the Seinfeld Golden Boy, right? You don't take it out of the game. You keep it in
No,
there.
no.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This is like the
Keep it in
one
rotation.
Union thing I keep in my rotation. There's like two other shirts I'll wear. Lately, I've been just randomly wearing Las Vegas Lights shirts because they've been doing a deco of like old school Vegas, which I'm really into, and they kind of did a downtown old Vegas. So I've
Yeah.
been wearing a lot of
For
those.
me, it's that concert t-shirt, the one that everyone talked about like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
The kind of black and grayish one with
it's
the
nice.
concert kind of
So
motif
Kyle, should
there.
we do a get you and Christy to do a side podcast on Ocean's 11? Is that
Um,
a thing we can make happen?
I can talk about Vegas history in my old podcast. Like Ask Her, I used to do an old podcast on Vegas history, and then we decided to do this one.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah,
talking Vegas all day
it
with
was.
KA.
Yep.
I'm gonna look
Well,
that up. I'm gonna go
Uh-huh.
look that one
it's
up.
still there, although it hasn't had any new episodes in 2 years. Even though I have like 5 episodes that, like, at any one time, I could just fire off one, but
Yeah,
you
All
it
right.
know,
kind of took a back seat when we started doing this.
and then it just kind of kept evolving, and it's just like, yeah, I'd rather be doing this than that.
Yeah.
So
Good answer. Good
yeah,
answer.
exactly. No, I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
This is more fun because that you gotta do a lot of research, and then you got to put together, and by the time you put together, somebody else that has, well, I'll be honest with you, like millions of subscribers will already put together in much better quality. And
Mhm.
Mm.
then like maybe you get a little bit of a niche, so you gotta look at the niches and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, it, I will say that prepared us for this, in a way. So we were able to jump into this streamline, and we're still
Yeah.
learning.
Because I like
Oh yeah.
reluctantly kind of got on his podcast a couple times, but
Yeah.
and then we started this thing up and I was like, I don't know what to do on podcasts really that much, but
I'm
here I
like,
am
well, we
now.
did the talk in Vegas all day with Kay, and you're like, oh yeah, let's
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it. But anyway,
All right, let's
where
dive
can
into it.
people find us?
Yeah, so you can find us on social media in various places. We are on Twitter and on Blue Sky at TOTWAG. We're on Instagram and Facebook at The One Team We Agree On, and our YouTube channel as well. And also, we have our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com. You can find me on Twitter at silly double underscore Jilly, and also on Instagram at the same. Also, Kyle's at Coach Almany, and yeah, so I'm on Blue Sky as well, but it's at Jillian uh underscore Almany or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. I tried to make it all the same, but it just wasn't possible. No, Blue Sky doesn't let you do like the
I know.
underscores. It was lame.
Oh
It's
really?
just at Jillian Almany on
Yeah,
Blue Sky
yeah,
now that I
they won't let you
recall.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't let me just do like the same thing. My very juvenile Twitter handle from like, my 20s. So,
We
yeah.
all have those.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So when we all last spoke, it was more, and we were talking about the season ahead. It was more of a wait and see with how Carnell and this iteration of the squad would fare. Now through 19 games, including the U.S. Open
Mm-hmm.
Cup, how are you looking this squad differently than you maybe did earlier in the year? And this is an open-ended question. Go ahead.
So we're gonna try to keep this under an hour.
Yes. Like let me ask you this. What are the biggest things that have stuck out to you with this squad?
I would say
Yeah.
the unexpected good play from a number of newly brought in players. Like
Like,
I don't know, you got what we got. Obviously Danley. You
Hmm.
got Jovic. Yeah, Jovic. Suddenly I was doubting I had that name correctly. Um, Rick, not totally a surprise, but
Yeah.
really stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We didn't see enough of Glavinovich, obviously, but Marcagna, like
Mm-hmm.
solid after a couple of shaky starts. Um, I mean, Damiani, it's still early. He
Right.
hasn't told.
Yeah.
We talked before the recording a little bit. I do like what I see from him, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's gotta break loose a bit. And then Quinn Sullivan just continuing to rise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a really fun season watching a lot of players. We hoped that they would be good, and to see it actually happen has been wonderful.
Yeah. It's yeah, the rise of new players, like players moving into their roles. I could go on at length about Danley. I just love how he plays out there.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And pairing him up with Lukic, swapping out Bueno is really so. I guess for me, the one thing if I had to kind of pick one thing is there's this versatility that Carnell seems to be incorporating into like the team strategy, right? You can switch
Mm-hmm.
lineups, switch players. And
Switch
that's
formations. Sorry to
yeah,
cut you off there. Switch formations. I mean,
like
what was it that one match where he told us he's like at the end of the game, yeah, we had four different lineups. I think that
yeah,
was that the Toronto game. It was one of
yeah.
these recent games where he's like, yeah, we had four different lineups in the match.
Yeah.
Mid-game
Formations.
switching.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Formations.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
mid-game switching formations, and it creates this kind of a strategic moving target, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so for teams to try to, if for teams to come in and go up against us knowing that we play this standard 4-4-2, we know what they're getting. Now people don't know what they're going to get. Even at the beginning of the game, you don't know what you're going to get in 45 minutes. So
That's true.
To me, that's a
Mhm.
fundamental change, which I'm finding very entertaining.
Mhm.
Yeah, and with Jim, like as much as we love Jim, you didn't see that.
No.
So
Old
I mean, it
reliable.
got a little stale. It was always the 4-4-2 diamond,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it worked for a while, but then
Yeah.
I think the team got a little figured out. So
I
Yeah, a
think
lot
that's
figured out.
exactly it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, a lot figured out because that really seemed to be the problem by the end. I mean, again, I hate to say anything negative about Jim either, but
Yeah.
I think I guess maybe I'm kind of starting to see it now a little bit, but
Hmm.
who knew it was going to work out this well? Honestly, I really
mhm.
thought this was going to be a rebound
Yeah.
Yeah.
coach, maybe, or at least a rebound year.
Yeah.
So
Rebuild it.
I'm
Yeah.
delighted that we are where we are.
You
And
guys, go ahead.
no, it just seemed like for a while I kept thinking like every week it seemed like, oh, what we're playing the 12th place. We're playing and it's like, yeah, but we keep winning or doing well even if we don't
Mhm.
win. And it's just like I can't keep putting an asterisk on everything. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yep.
At
Yep.
some point we're just doing well and that's all
Yeah.
there is to it.
Mhm.
I,
So,
I think that's kind of the whole premise. Like, I know we like to pin on the Nashville game, the NYCFC game, the two drop points to Inter Miami at home and Columbus, but you look at some of the other matches like LA Galaxy. There's
Hmm.
so many matches that last year you would have been like I even bring up this most recent one with Dallas. And I hate to say this because, like you said, Chrissy, we love Jim, but
Mhm.
there is this room there. The Union would have found a way to give up some fluky goal against Dallas, and it would have been 1-0 loss, and everybody been like, "Well, what was that? That was a clunker."
Where the Union don't come back in that Galaxy
The
game.
game, and now you're looking
Hmm.
at the worst team in the league at home and going,
I
"What
know.
was that?" You know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
there is something about this team this year, and you see the belief in the locker room. I mean, you see
Mhm.
the belief in the organization. Players are bought in,
Mhm.
staff, coaches, they're all bought in.
Yeah.
So I think that's something a little bit more, even during the bad draws or poor performances. You see that in the players where last year it was like, well, we need to be doing better at this. We need to be doing better at this. There's more acceptance now that, hey, we got to be better, and I think there's still that understanding of we got to continue to raise the bar.
hmm Yeah, and
Hmm.
I think a lot can be said. I think, the team culture, Jim had that pretty good, but I think like it got taken to another level. The foundation was there, and I feel like they've really just kind of stepped it up even more. I think a lot of stuff off the field is helping with the team.
Yeah.
And I saw, they just put out today that they went and they did go-karts or whatever, and
Yeah.
just they were super excited, like
Yeah.
the pure joy on Jesus Bueno's face
That
when they
was
found out what
funny.
they were doing. You gotta love it. So,
yeah,
yeah, I think
it
they're
was
doing
great.
some good things. They're just really, they're all connecting. So,
So
Yeah.
you look at this and you go, you know, you look at their standings right now, you look at the points, and you're saying everything's good.
hmm
We still got another 17 games to go. We'll get into that in a little bit later, but um, let's talk about the Atlas match real quick.
Yeah. So, yeah, last Saturday, the Atlas match, which, a friendly, not huge ramifications there, but a good chance for some other players that were not on international duty to step up and, for Bradley to see what he's got there with some of these players, honestly. And some of those players really seized the opportunity as well.
And we can talk about that. My
Yeah.
question is, and for you guys, when you saw that match announced, was it just kind of like, okay, we're playing that? Yeah, exactly.
hmm
Yeah.
Eric's got it right there. I
Yeah.
feel like that was a big missed opportunity
hmm
by the
Mhm.
union to
Yeah.
engage the Hispanic fans, number one. You're charging $58 for friendly
That's
when during an
ridiculous.
international
Yeah.
break. It's like I get it, but you can still go on StubHub. They were what, $13? We were
Yeah,
looking
but
at
like, I think it was a big missed opportunity because yeah, just the price tag on that. And also, of course, everyone's big gripe is that it wasn't streamed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like that
Not at
really
Yeah.
all.
turned some people off. So, that's a shame. I mean, even if they would have streamed it and like charged like a fee for it or something, people like they would have definitely had people watching from Mexico for one
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's my thing. So that same night, I'm curious, and I don't know this to be true. I'm wondering if that's a league issue where the clubs can't stream it because of the Apple deal. I don't know this to be true.
Yeah.
Somebody in the comments can, when we release this, can correct us. That's fine. But my thing was, San Diego played Club America that night.
Hmm.
Hmm.
They were advertising fiestas, they were advertising meet some of the legends
Hmm.
of the sport. They just had a lot of like tailgates, and just things to get the fans interacted. Now, again, I'm not trying to be critical here. It's just like I felt like this was just like, hey, we're playing Atlas. All right, come out and see the game.
They
Yeah,
really didn't
like
do a good
Chris is
job of
like,
Yeah.
selling
yeah,
it or
yeah, like
anything.
let's go game to
Yeah.
game. And I will share this, and you guys can tell me if you see the picture here. Um, this is right at kickoff here. So, whoop, that is not the picture. That, here we go. Um,
Yes.
this is right at kickoff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy
Wow.
crow.
Wow.
So you were in the river end,
I was
and I
not
mean
in the
not in the
river
river
end. I
end.
was
You
in
were
the
in the
press
press box.
box.
I was in the river end. This is my panoramic shot, and
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah, that
Wow.
that is.
That looks like 4,000 people, if that, if maybe less.
So Mike Barrera, I'm sure you know him from AAT Sports. He does the post game shows. I don't know if you guys hang out with them sometimes after the matches. He was sitting with me and a buddy of mine, and we were all sitting there, and I'm like, Mike,
Yeah.
man, this might be worse than the Pittsburgh Riverhounds match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's bad. And he was like, yeah. So we were talking about it was a great time down the river end because a lot of us were just standing there chatting about the
Hmm.
season. People were
Sure. Yeah.
asking us questions what we thought. But yeah, I mean, the game itself, the first half was kind of just like, man, it's a friendly. You
Mm.
could tell the starters were kind of just out there playing, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
their guys were just playing. It was just kind of a training session, so to
Right.
speak.
Getting some field
Yeah.
time.
And the first half, this were all, first team guys who were either regular starters that didn't get called to national team duty, or there were guys that, were bench players, but they were guys who were usually kind of with the first team. But then you see the bench, and it's almost all Union 2 guys.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's who we saw in the second half. We saw just about all of them come on.
Yeah, and that was great
It
because
was fantastic. That's what I was excited about because of covering Union 2 so much.
Yeah.
that's why
Right.
Yeah.
she kind
Right.
of went in the press box. So
Yeah.
the whole thing that we saw was, second half, Marcus makes an
The
immediate
energy
impact because you could
changed.
see that because the first half, a lot of the first team guys were just in there kind of getting
Yeah.
training. Second team guys were in there trying to get
Impressed.
noticed. Yeah,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
same with the Atlas guys that were coming off the bench that second half too.
Yeah, and
Second half was fun.
the
That was
second
actually it was
was
like a
fun.
soccer
And
game.
I like to use this I like to use that clip a lot from, Gambit and Deadpool and Wolverine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're gonna make a name for
You just go,
yourself, yes.
"Ooh, I'm gonna go out here and make a name for myself," that one. But no, like, I've been wanting to see Eddie, or I've been wanting to see Eddie get a chance, but I think Marcus Anderson,
Needs
now
a
that
redemption song.
he does need a redemption,
And
like,
Yeah.
that goal he
um,
scored.
and we've seen him blast the ball before, but like, with Union too. And Marcus just he has good speed and everything. He's very aggressive. But of course, the blunder that happened with him against Cincinnati last year, and then he got hurt and everything. So like he needed good redemption. But he and Eddie Davis both had some injury issues at the beginning of the season and have been with Union too. But since they've gotten back up to good health, like they both scored in Union Two's game on Tuesday against FC Cincinnati 2.
Hmm.
And so it was wonderful to see them come in and score in the Atlas game. But that ball that Marcus just blasted was phenomenal. And then Eddie had a really nice goal as well. And Marcus had kind of begun that whole little
Yeah.
progression as well. So
Yeah.
that was great to see.
And
And yeah.
okay.
Okay.
What is and Chris, you're sharing a file here? Oh,
It's a screenshot from the the page on the Union site where they list
Yeah.
all the games. They couldn't even be bothered to put up the score properly.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Oh, yeah.
They
There's no
could.
recap.
There
There's no
was
Yeah.
no
recap
recap
on it.
because
There was okay, yeah, we got no like
Yeah.
yeah, just not no pictures,
no
no recap
Nothing.
nothing.
because we usually get like an email after the match with,
Hmm.
photos we
Well,
can use and
Yeah.
stats and that kind of stuff. Nothing. So, that's what I was worried that we might not get anything. So I did a bunch of clips that I strung together at least and but pictures, they were hard to come by. But yeah, it was a shame because now of course they did put out nice little clips of the goals, which
But
was good, but I mean, because for guys like Marcus and Eddie, that's a big deal for them,
there was no
Hmm.
press conference.
No press conference.
Cornell canceled the press conference. There's supposed to be a press conference, but
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
and I get
Wow.
it. I get
Yeah.
it though too. It's like a friendly way.
There weren't many of us in the press box either, to be
Yeah,
fair.
Mm,
But
yeah.
okay.
but we did talk to Marcus and Eddie and Leandro Soria after. Leandro, of course, spoke in Spanish though. So, and by the way, side note, the national team game when they were doing the national anthem, Paxton and Brennan Aronson were standing right next to each other, and they zoomed in on them, and that was a cool moment.
Oh, that's really cool.
I'm so
Wow.
happy for them getting the start. Them and Quinn and Nate are all in the starting lineup tonight, so
So
that's pretty cool.
let's share some of the
Yeah.
clips.
Yeah, we got the
We have
clip.
two clips
Yeah.
here. First one is you asked Eddie kind of bouncing back after a tough first
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. Well, he had a he was the top goal scorer for Union 2 last year. He had 13 regular season goals and one in the MLS Next Pro Cup as well. So he was really instrumental in them having a good Union 2 season. And he has now 2 goals on the season for Union 2, but he was bouncing back from injury. So I did ask him, just about his great Union 2 season, just how
Right,
you just play it. Yeah.
yeah, here we go.
Union 2 season. Just how's that help your confidence coming in real hot after you've gotten your form back here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's always going to be ups and downs, but I kept my head on straight and I didn't let it get to me, and now it's time to start cooking. So
I just love how he keeps saying it's time to cook
He
it.
said he's super excited.
He,
Kind of
he is,
confident.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was also some questions about like how it felt to score a goal, and he basically
Yeah.
said all the right things. But
He you can see it on his face, Eddie, he he was really excited to have that moment and so
and
that was great for him because, he's been working hard and
Hmm.
trying to get back to, where he was and everything. So that was
Mhm.
good to see.
then finally, we'll just wrap up before we get back into it
Mhm.
here. Just share what Mark would say.
Yep. Yes. You scored on Tuesday for Union 2 and 2 assists. Now you scored tonight right after coming on. Can you just talk about how you're feeling right now and what that does for your confidence?
I'm feeling really good right now. Throughout last year and this year, I've been going through injuries and it has been the best for me mentally, but I've just been picking my head up, working hard, doing what the coaches have said, and those 2 goals have just put a hell of confidence on my back and just makes me want to keep going forward.
All right, so that's Mark there. So I'm gonna say this. I think the one person to come up, I would love to see Marcus because
Yeah.
I think this is if he with his pressing, especially, and we all know Cornell
Mm-hmm.
loves pressing.
Yes.
He fits that mold, and I'd love to
Hmm.
see him come back up and get another kind of opportunity.
Yeah.
between-
And
Yeah.
I've
Would
heard
he
a lot of
replace
people.
Chris Donovan as that fourth striker? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I was about to
Yeah,
say, like, I feel like a lot of people feel that I would personally
I will
put
say this:
Marcus.
Donovan has
He has
a
a certain
fit.
skill set.
And that is you're up late, you get him in the corner, down there just holds up the ball, and
Right.
like fights it off. But
Needed that in the Miami game, though.
I mean again, I think I would like to see them rotate based on the
Yeah.
matchup.
Yeah. Really would like to see what he can do. I mean, if he can stay
Hmm.
healthy, he he really could do well up there, I think.
Yeah.
So let's get back to talking about the first team. So
Mhm.
that's kind of our little thoughts
Yeah.
on the game.
Yeah.
Friendly. What you kind of talked about in the intro, but who do you all feel has made the biggest jump from this past season or just coming on the scene? You kind of all alluded to it, but if there's like one or two players you could specifically say, I did not see that coming, who would that be?
I feel like we have to let Christy go first since it kind of went the other way. We kind of
Yeah,
have to
let's
split
start.
this one.
There you go.
Well, I'll steal E's because I know what he's going to say is Danley. I
Yep.
mean, Danley has just been, he's everywhere all the time. in all the things. So
He's
I
here,
mean,
he's there.
yeah, he really is. And it's just, I mean, yeah, I think it's I don't know. I feel reassured when he's on the field.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
For sure.
that's, I think there have been a number of revelations, but if you want an all-encompassing, all-around one, that's who I would go with. So
How about you, E?
Well, my answer was stolen, but
yep, I think you can probably give the same one.
well, no, I mean, I've Lukic, I've really been enjoying him. He's kind
Oh,
of
that's true.
it's I'm a sucker for personality. And
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's I mean, I think one thing about a lot of Philly teams is there's plenty of personality to go around. But I've, seen some of his social posts and stuff like that. I just like his kind of whole uh personality, what he brings to the team.
Hmm.
But the thing is, I like that he plays that center midfield, and I just love the fact that he goes for those long range shots. I think
Hmm.
it's kind of like, it's like we use a lot of analogies, but the one we use is like, boxing, right? You got your,
Hmm.
in close and you got your long range, right? And I feel like Lukic and Danley are kind of a long range asset, although Danley just runs it in anyway. Like he's just
Yeah.
everywhere.
Hmm.
But Lukic, he kind of does remind me of Jack McGlynn a little bit, and the fact that Jack McGlynn would just try stuff, right?
Hmm.
You're 10 yards outside of the 18, yeah,
Yeah.
go for the shot.
Hmm.
Um, so I've really been enjoying Lukic as well. Yeah,
Serbian Latu.
he's a Serbian Latu. That's
Yeah.
I love the video with him, like, oh, he's driving along the boulevard there in front of the art museum, and like he's
Oh yeah.
reading off all the flags, like, oh, my brother, that's his flag, like literally like teammates. It's like, all right, you got me, you got me.
Yeah, we're suckers.
Yeah, so he was kind of an unknown coming into the season,
Yeah.
and I feel like he's both on the field and off the field. He's kind of making his presence known.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then one that we haven't mentioned tonight, but I know you guys are big fans of, and we have become big fans of, is Frankie Westfield.
Hmm.
So
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
you knew he was good because you've seen him on YouTube.
Yeah.
For those of us who didn't follow YouTube very closely, I knew the name, but I didn't
Yep.
know his play.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
I give her credit for that because I was still like it was wait and see with him. She was like,
Yeah.
I'm all on board. So
Yeah.
very much
Mhm.
I'm
so.
like, I've
I
seen
And
remember
enough.
that.
This kid's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
it's a
Hmm.
classic sports story. There's an
Hmm.
injury in preseason. There's a person
Hmm.
who's not quite ready to in shape. Then he and his Frankie gets an opportunity to take a shot at a starting role, and you just can't take him off of the field. Like
Yeah.
he's in pen on that right side defense. Like
Yeah.
that's his spot until he chooses not to want to win it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
Hmm.
are there a couple of games where they're going to rest their main starters that Frankie won't necessarily. He's young enough that he could run for every game,
Mhm.
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
Carnell's
I
still going to
agree.
rotate, still going to put Harry Ellen and Bizo back out there, and yeah, I mean, Frankie has been amazing, a revelation for those who didn't know him, and just justifying all of the trust that those who did know him gave to him.
And the nice thing with that pairing with Harriel and Frankie is now Nate's playing center back. And look,
Hmm.
we all are like, wait, what are we doing here? Jim was always saying a pinch he could play it. Well, he's playing a little bit more, which then again rests Makanya, gives Makanya a rest in certain matchups.
Or you
And
can
then,
Yeah.
rest Glessness.
or you can rest Glasses, or you can flip Frankie in the center back because Frankie came up as a center back. So it's just a nice little rotation there where you can
Hmm.
keep all the players fresh.
Hmm.
Um, but going back to your point about Danley and Lukic, I mean, in my opinion, Jovan has been one of the biggest. I would almost say he's a little bit of that all action box to box kind of defender, almost like a more mild manner Bueno, like
You
Bueno,
mean Brujo?
Brujo,
Yeah.
yeah,
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 that's what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Brujo
Yeah.
Brujo light,
with yeah.
Yeah.
Brujo light. Maybe
Yeah.
not that much, but he plays with that
Brujito.
heart, and he
Yeah.
plays with that heart and passion. You
Yeah.
see it. He plays with that grit
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
tenacity, and then you play it. pair him with Danley, it's like we're
Yeah.
joking on like who should be an all-star because they
I would,
both
yeah,
can
it should,
be
they're like a
a
package deal there. They
yeah,
should
you
both.
you could
Yeah.
really legitimately make an argument that each of them are all-star worthy.
But I don't like that I can't vote for both of them at the same time.
And like
But they're
Yeah.
defensive midfielders, so they'll never get the respect that they deserve.
exactly, they're
Yeah.
doing all the dirty work, and I honestly think that's one of the reasons the Union, all things considered, going into the season, we were worried about the defense. Did we do enough? I
Hmm.
think that's one of the reasons you're seeing that. Plus the pressing in the midfield that caused the turnovers.
Hmm.
That's a whole nother story. But to your point, Paul, we were talking before Christy and Eric, you guys got on. There's a good chance somebody like Danley, maybe he doesn't make it through the
Yeah.
summer. And if you can get a
Yeah.
team that can make that money, I can make good business. I hate to say it again. It's like the Gazdag thing. It's
Yeah.
good business because right now you look at that Gazdag deal. He hasn't scored yet for Columbus. Hasn't done
Yeah.
anything for Columbus. And
Yeah.
now Columbus fans are going, "What's going on?" So who's looking good coming out of that? I mean, again, he's a player like Gazdag's not going to stay cold forever. He's going to
No.
heat up at some point. But
Yeah. Yeah. It's only a matter of time.
it is only a matter of time. But again, you look at some of these business decisions. If the union can make those kind of transitions, you still got, boy,
Hmm.
and you got some of
Yep.
these younger guys that are coming up the pipeline. Ernst said we want to give these guys an opportunity and not feel blocked. And
Hmm.
you're starting to see Raffanello, who, where was he last year outside of a couple games,
Mm.
And he's starting to get some chances.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see some of these guys get some of these more opportunities.
Yeah.
Talk about opportunities. What did you think about Harriel as an attacking midfielder?
That
I
was
thought he
wild.
did a great job though,
Yeah.
honestly. Like I was impressed. Like he, you know, he's definitely played a whole bunch of positions at this point. It's like, what can the man not do? Are we going to see him play striker at some point?
He's
He'll
gonna
But
score
probably
in
be
the
a
gloves.
striker and a goalie
Go
in
in
the,
net.
a keeper in
Right,
the same
right.
game.
No, but he like it just shows his range of talent. I mean, as we speak, he's playing with the national team right now,
what
starting, which
Biza playing center back on
oh,
Saturday?
Bizo was playing center
Remember
back
Jim
in the
last year
second
said
half.
Biza could play center back in a pinch. He played at center back
Yeah.
and
Yep.
didn't do too
He
bad.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't ever want to see that in a game.
Yeah, yeah, and he was paired
But he
with
didn't
Neil
do
Pierre. Yeah, because
yeah,
Neil Pierre came in, he made he's back from his
Right.
injury, and
he got cooked
he did get he and
on that goal.
LaFleur got cooked on
That
the
goal.
goal that got given up, but
He's also coming back from
he's just
injury.
coming back from injury. But he's actually really
Hmm.
good, and he's the real deal in my opinion. But anyway, yeah, I mean, there's some versatility there. So, um, and and for me actually, and this is going to lead to the next thing, Andrew Rick.
Mm.
Andrew Rick. I mean, there was a time last season when the thought of Andrew Rick going and playing, starting the goal for the first
Mm.
team was kind of a wild take, kind
Mm.
of.
Yep.
And,
Mhm.
because at that point, okay, there's Andre, and then there's Zemla who had gotten
Mhm.
some first team, but then Zemla was getting cooked.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, also Zemla did a good job, really against Atlas. So that was good to see. But anyway. That being said, Andrew Rick, I mean, he's still 19. He just was with the U19s with the national team. He actually started in their first game, by the way. But just he's for me, he's one that I think has really made that jump well and really rose to the occasion this year, and he's had to,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's shown a lot of maturity and growth, not just physical height, but just mentally and just how he can command the defense and everything. But, you know, 19 years old, and,
It's a
you know,
kid.
what have you seen, from him this year, as opposed to last year, and while Blake is in and out of the lineup, do you feel more comfortable with him there than last year?
I will say this is just an anecdotal thing that my mom tends to pick. I don't think she realizes she does this, but she tends to pick somebody who's sort of a son figure on the team. And when she was down here watching one of the last games he played before Blake came back, she said, I want Blake to get better and everything, but I really want them to give the kid a chance. He's doing so well.
Yeah.
So I think that's her new favorite. And to register on her radar means something is going right for her
Yeah.
to
Right.
True.
notice. So,
Yeah.
but that said, yeah, I mean, I there were so many times Eric and I turned to each other, we're like, that was Blake-esque
The
what he
Blake
just did
Mhm.
esque.
there, and I mean we were at the, oh my God, the first Open Cup game against
Oh,
Indy 11,
Yeah.
and when it
yes,
came down to PKs, and he was in that, and we did the thing that most people, it was like you run
goal.
down to be behind
Yeah.
Mhm.
the goal, and man, when he saved, he was so
He was
pumped. He
so
was
fired
ready
up.
to,
Mhm.
like, just tear all the seats out of the stadium. I mean, it was
Yeah.
Hmm.
crazy.
Hmm.
So I'm so impressed, and it's so nice to not, I mean, we all want Blake, but it's so nice to not have to worry as
Mhm.
much, not nearly
Hmm.
as much, because there is a new and maybe a little different kind of talent there. I don't know.
Hmm.
That's how
Mhm.
I don't, it's, Blake is Blake, but it's so nice to uh, have him on our
Yeah.
side, I guess. Yeah.
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 And he's, go ahead.
I would have lost money on Rick because I
Hmm.
remember at the end of last season we ran over to the stadium. They had that signing event, and we stood in
Mhm.
line for like eight
It,
hours trying to
it
get
was
signatures.
last spring, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Last spring,
yeah,
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 might, but last
yeah,
year.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I
that's true.
remember he was at like we called it like the kids table, like or it was
yeah,
just him
Mhm.
yeah.
and like
It's him and Vasquez and
yeah,
I can't remember the third
yeah. There's
person, to be
three of them.
totally
I can't
honest.
remember,
Mhm.
but they look. I mean, they look like kids, and I'm just like, yeah, these are the third string. This is whatever. And then Zemla was a solid replacement for
Mhm.
Blake, and then we
For a
started
little
playing
bit.
Rick. I'm like, why are we playing this kid, this child? Uh, but I know like Paul's mentioned this a couple times. Like they're either no, not either. They're both too young to be afraid, and they're too young to not try anything. And I think when those things get
Yep.
in phase,
Mhm.
you see Blake-esque performances out there. So,
And I
yeah,
also wonder if with Rick, coming on as strong as he has as a keeper, has Ernst learned anything from Matt Freeze? We
Mhm.
had Matt Freeze, who is now arguably one of the top five goalkeepers in MLS playing for NYCFC. You know, we had a shot at keeping him as well as Blake, and obviously you can't have two studs in the corral
Mhm.
in some ways. What happens, if Rick suddenly starts getting interest from other teams?
hmm,
I don't know who else is in the pipeline, but how many times are we going to luck into a solid goalkeeper like we have with both Freeze and Rick? I mean, you can argue like even McCarthy,
Hmm.
McMath, like the Union have done a really good job with keepers over the decades. And that's a concern, and also I hate to admit it, but it's kind of a concern for what's the future for Andre Blake. Like
Hmm.
he's the
yeah,
starter, like he's the
yeah,
Right.
starter this
Yeah.
year. There's no doubt. But is he always going to have that? And then
yeah, right,
if he's not the starter, what does that mean for him? Like he's still starting for Jamaica, and
yep,
like I
Mhm.
don't think he's ready to hang it up. And as you
No,
were saying earlier, they've got to make room for the young guys to keep going.
it is interesting, right? Because on one hand, you're right. Blake's going to go down as probably one of the best MLS goalkeepers of all time.
Yep.
Ever,
yeah,
ever.
Ever. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when he's healthy, yes, he's the number one goalkeeper in the net.
Mhm.
That's not, but Father Time is cruel. And,
hmm,
he's had
Mhm.
injuries and they're starting to compile. So is it a good thing where you can, if Blake's body isn't feeling it that day, where you can give the opportunity maybe that was not afforded to a Matt Freeze to get a little
Mhm.
bit more on the job training for
yeah,
yes, maybe then down the road, Europe or another MLS team comes calling with an offer Ernst can't refuse, and you got to take that because the kid needs playing time.
Mhm.
yeah,
Having said that, it also goes back, you talk about these goalkeepers, it goes back to the job Phil Wedden and now Ross Kane, who's with the
yep,
Mhm.
Puerto Rico national team.
Yep.
He's out there with them as their goalkeeper coach. Um, that's amazing. And just so, and then there is some very good goalies in that pipeline. I mean, we
Yes.
see them when we're down there with the second team in the academy. There are
Mhm.
some. Now, will they develop like Andrew Rick? Time will tell. But there are some very talented kids down there. I can tell you
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. They got like a big signing that's like, 15 right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah. There's another one
Mhm.
coming. There's another one
He's
coming.
15 years old and 6'7",
Oh,
280 pounds.
he's. Let me just put it this way. when I've seen him in training, he's making saves that I'm like, huh, that's only a 15-year-old making that save. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
So,
really,
yeah.
Genetics is funny that way.
yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
Yeah.
right.
It is.
Yeah. So, but
So
yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think with Rick, one thing I like about him too, he is very good at saving penalties. Like when that Indy 11 game, I'm like, oh, he's good for at least one save here because he usually is. And we talked about that. Like I
And with
talked about
Richter,
that with Rick and with yeah, and with Ryan Richter, we talked about that. But just like, yeah, Andrew himself said, you know, he he just feels confident doing that. He's like the
Same.
pressure's
pressure reflex.
Yeah,
yeah, he's like the pressure's on the person taking the kick, and
true.
and so yeah, it's he's been a delight to see
Yeah.
really come up and just get better and better. So, I mean, I think the heir apparent for Andre Blake obviously, but hopefully he can keep getting playing time
Yeah.
no matter what here. So, not necessarily, I mean, yeah, a lot of people say yeah, he's too good for next pro at this point, but um, you know, as long as he keeps playing and in some capacity, I think that'll be good for him.
Yeah.
Maybe an
Yeah.
opportunity, maybe the future is a loan for him to
Yeah,
some other team,
Well,
where he's
we
going to
like
get good
USL or
competition.
something.
we were talking about that a lot
Hmm.
during the off season, and
Hmm.
even still, we'll see what the summer brings up. But I mean,
It
you
just
could get a
depends.
nice value. Why
I
not?
wonder if he wouldn't go to Europe if Ernst wouldn't have a connect in some of the the German league teams or an
Yeah.
Austrian league team, and
Hmm.
see if they could make a loan offer for him there once Blake is back and healthy. I don't think he's going anywhere this year,
No, but
but
I'm thinking next year, if you send him to Europe, do you think he's coming back? Because I don't
That's the
think
thing.
he's coming back
Yeah,
unless you do
depends
an
on the
option.
loan.
Unless you
yeah,
do a loan, it's just a straight up loan, no option to buy.
yeah.
But
I feel like it's kind of tough to loan him out like right now because Andre's been just so iffy.
yeah.
Right.
So,
Right. That
Hmm.
I guess not this year, but maybe
yeah,
over the
Hmm.
winter.
yeah.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure. So let's have some fun here. I want you guys to all put on your Ernest Tanner sporting director hat. Looking at how these first 17 games have gone, what areas do you feel still there is need for growth and improvement? And if you could make one or two signings this summer with the July window, what signs would you do?
I would make a sign that just reads, I told you so, and hang that out in the stadium.
Yeah,
I wonder if that guy's just walking down the hallway just gloating, like, no,
yeah, yeah,
justified.
Probably. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah, good question.
Maybe a finishing coach just to get Aura and Damiani to actually hit the frame
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like they're playing at a very high level. I would certainly take another quality defender just to have enough further backup.
Hmm.
Um, As far as starter, though, I think it has to be for me. It has to be in that midfield, the attacking midfield position.
Hmm.
Like no offense to Quinn and Vasilev, they're great, but one of the things that I always loved watching Aura do was beat people on the run,
Hmm.
Mm.
and those passes that Gazdag would put out into space and Aura would run onto. Like there was one that Lukic did. I forget which game it was, but Aura, that was one of Aura's few goals this season. Lukic just split two defenders, played the ball perfectly weighted into space. Aura took like one touch and sort of chipped the keeper.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that was Montreal.
okay,
Because
I couldn't
Soros
remember.
kind of puts a paw on it, but it was hit so
Yeah.
hard, it
Yep,
just kind of flipped over. Yep.
yep. So like another attacking midfielder that knows how to make those passes and find that space, that would be really helpful.
I agree with you on that, Paul, because that's the one thing. You look at Indiana Vassilev, Carnell loves him. He's
Hmm
high energy,
Hmm.
presses, he fits what he wants. The
He's
problem
Carnell's
is,
Bedoya.
but
Yes.
but the problem is you'll see
That's
him
a good way to say
dribble,
it.
dribble, 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 and Ua's trying to make that
Yeah.
run down the pass, and he doesn't have the awareness that you want from a creating 10 at times, I feel. And this is not just
Hmm.
me, several other of us have talked
Hmm.
about this.
Hmm.
Like there needs, and maybe Ben Bender is that player, but he's more of an
Hmm.
Mm.
attacking guy and he's only really had 1 year, and that was his first year since
Hmm.
Charlotte that he
Charlotte,
showed
right.
that.
Yeah, he looked decent against
I
Atlas.
mean, he runs around to like he's kind of a high energy presser, but I would love to see somebody like you said, Paul, with that creating, be able to thread the ball through the lines, get in when Ua's run behind. Same with
Mhm.
Damiani.
You know who's good actually at creating and can play attacking midfield and has been used as a 10 a lot
Who?
by Ryan Richter. Marcus Anderson.
Yeah.
But
There
anyway,
you go.
But
Yeah.
but but
but
anyway,
anyway,
no,
go ahead.
no.
Yeah.
Anybody else? But yeah, no, I think that's one of my biggest ones. We need
Hmm.
Yeah.
the Union need another midfielder.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm not great at saying who should be signed and who shouldn't. I can
Right,
tell you
right.
where I'd like to see improvement, and that would be pretty much what you said, at least in part, was Indiana. I still like I feel like he's there are a couple times on our pod where I've said like I really like him. His personality
Mm-hmm.
seems like
Hmm.
amazing,
Yeah.
but on the field, I'm not seeing it. And yes, in the Carnell soft spot, I'm glad you said that because I was starting to kind of feel the same way. So like,
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like he's done
Hmm.
more recently. Like maybe he's starting to find a place. So I don't have it as much
Yeah.
with him. My sore spot remains Damiani. I
Hmm.
would like to see more happening there because the joke now is that we're down to $1 million a goal.
Hmm.
So I mean, maybe the whole Damiani experiment is just to shut us up about spending money on a player.
Yeah.
um like, look, we
Yeah.
spent money on him and he's not doing as much as some of these other guys. I mean, that's just clearly I'm joking. Sorry,
Right.
prayers for Damiani, but like it's just I don't know. That's where I'd like to see a little more there. A little more something happening.
For
So
sure, because I mean,
yeah.
what do strikers get rated on? Number of goals.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep, you
Plain
know.
End of the
simple.
day,
Yeah.
that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's fair. I mean, I've been very pro Damiani. I think he's getting into good positions, and if the goals can come, watch out. But
Yeah.
again, to your point,
Hmm.
Christy, goals got to start coming. No, that's a fair
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we talked about that just real quick about Damiani. It's just like, there's a couple steps that have to occur for him to do his job, and we're doing those steps. And then
Hmm.
it gets to him, and it's like, yeah, it's that tired old one-liner, and I don't mean it's like, he's got to do his job, right? And it's just like he's got to finish. And I know it's a lot harder, and there's people are off their,
Mhm.
they're out of the zone, right? They're not clicking yet, and we want them to succeed, but yeah, yeah, you guys have
17
kind of
games
checked all
in.
the boxes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think for if I was Tanner, um, I don't know. I just look at this team right now with the positions that Paul and Christy mentioned. It's like for me, it's like, what do we need to keep this team just ticking like this clock is running great. So it's almost like, do we need support staff? Like I don't know, like just you know,
I was only half joking when I said a scoring coach.
Hmm.
yeah. And
Hmm.
honestly, like Kyle, when you mentioned that thing about like could Danley get transferred this summer, it's like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that possibility. Like
Yeah.
like he's such like a that metronome in the midfield. It's like we need him
Hmm.
there. Like, yeah, could we
But if
sell him and get a
but if the
player
offer
worth more?
comes, but if the offer comes, you can't refuse.
Hmm.
But I mean, right now, though, like mid-season, is that enough
Yeah.
time to build up a new piece of chemistry with whoever we put in that spot? I don't know. I don't know.
Exactly.
Carnell, he seems to be demonstrating he's got versatility, move people in and out. We can still make it work. I love that. But the one thing that always makes me afraid is that lasts for a while, and then
Mhm.
Hmm.
that machinery, some screw comes loose, some gear comes off, and then starts coming apart, and then something new. But I just want to see this team keep doing this. You
Absolutely.
know,
Hmm.
um,
And, and I think that's problem, and that's the problem because during these summer months where the union are trying to potentially just get some reinforcements for that push, a lot of those European teams, that's their big window where the winner, and that's that whole argument, should the MLS shift the windows so
yeah.
that they could do that? So then come,
Mm-mm.
the secondary window during that second phase, we're kind of more in line. I get that argument because then you're not losing a player potentially like a Danley
Mhm.
or it's Quinn Sullivan
Yeah.
or somebody like that that's getting a lot of looks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is interesting, but
Mhm. Yeah. And there is so much chemistry. Like, I would hate to see like someone like Danley taken out of there, just like
Yeah.
Yeah.
selfishly
I
because
agree.
he has been so good and
Yeah.
Mhm.
has just fit in so well, and that pairing with Lukic is just chef's kiss. So,
but again,
But
I
what
mean,
could Choo Choo do there?
this is all
Well,
but
hypothetical.
well, and yeah, and Choo Choo's
yeah.
been good, and he
Yeah.
hasn't gotten a ton of playing time. And so he could be real good in there too. And yeah, there's some guys coming up through like Union too that actually are pretty good. And honestly, like I, I mean, Cavan, he's he
He's
shouldn't be
good.
like a starter and stuff at this point, but you know it is good getting to see him get in there and get some experience and you know give him some playing time. So I mean the skill is there. He's
Yeah.
actually good at creating and stuff.
Hmm.
He has very good awareness and in his passing he gets bodied sometimes. I mean he's
Yeah.
15,
That's
but
it's a kid for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
I
Yeah,
I
it
know.
is.
know.
It really is. I think the one thing I would also look at is potentially another defensive replacement, like a center back. Center
Mhm.
back,
Yeah.
I could use another rotational piece there to keep Jacob healthy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe
Any
a
word
lot.
on Glavinovich?
He's still coming back from injury. Hopefully, Carnell will give us an update this week.
Yeah, I'll see what I can find out on Thursday, but
Yeah, so there is definitely he's still coming back. So.
yeah.
At this point, you kind of just hope you get to see him again on the field. You don't
Mhm.
want to rush it back, even though he's on loan. But because those kind of injuries can be a
Yeah.
long-term thing. But um, I would say last question I have for you three is 17 games to go, and plus U.S. Open Cup.
Hmm.
So it's a two-part question. First, what are your expectations? For these last 17 games? What are you looking forward to? And is this the year that you want to see the Union go all in on the Cup,
In
Open
the
Cup,
Open Cup.
on the U.S.
Open
Open
cup.
Cup? Because you find that that's probably their best chance to raise the trophy.
Oh, I
Christy, do
don't
you have
know.
a take on that, or do you want me to give you some
I'm
time?
I'm I'm staring at the wall, coming up with one. Please hold.
It's so who we going up against in Open Cup
Red
next?
Bulls.
So
Oh,
we'll
Red
play
Bulls. That's
Red
right.
Bulls in the quarter. Then we go on the road for the rest of the competition. Then we'll play the winner of Nashville and DC. You hope maybe DC beats Nashville and you don't have to travel Geodis. Maybe you
Yeah.
go play them. And then after that, then you head to the west and it's what is it, Chicago? Is it Chicago, Minnesota?
Are
Who
we
else?
talking? This is
Yeah.
regular season you're talking?
No,
No,
this is Open
Open
Cup.
Cup.
Open Cup. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And they'll play winner San Jose. I'm missing
I
somebody.
forget.
Yeah.
It's one of the is it Austin? Yes, it's Austin, Minnesota, and Chicago. It would be come out of the
And I
West.
think we've already decided if the Union go to the Open Cup final, we're going.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta. Like, we have zero regrets about going to LA back in 22.
Right.
It's like I know a lot of people that they're like, we're making the trip if they make it to the final.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
absolutely. We'll see.
Now, if they make it to the final, is it definitely not being held in Philly, or is it?
Nope.
Nope, it'll be a Western one.
Nope.
Oh, it's a West. Okay.
This is the last
Oh, I
home.
see.
For me, it's kind of like there's two competing forces going on here. You're like
Mhm.
one, this is my personal preference. Like one, the US Open Cup, we have to exercise that demon. Like we made it to the final, what, twice?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we lose it both. We're on PKs, I think.
Hmm.
Um, we have to, you know, fix that psychic, injury.
Mm.
But at the same time, and I almost don't even want to say this out loud, it's like, you know, it feels like for Allie to lift MLS Cup, this is it. Like I
Mhm.
remember like when we
Yeah.
didn't, when we lost to LA, it's just like, oh gosh, that was just I still cringe when I think about that. But
Hmm.
um, and then we struggled and we're starting to slip, and then it's like that's it. Allie missed his chance. And this year it's like we could do it. We could do it.
Hmm.
So, you know, if I had to forfeit, to sacrifice Open Cup to the soccer gods so that we could win MLS Cup, well, I think most people would take that. But
100%, 100%.
Sure.
it's just that the MLS Cup is still a campaign away. So this is a lot of bloviating here.
Well, I
So
can I can I can relieve you from your
you could jump in
bloviating
and
if you'd
save
like.
me. Tag out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Christy.
So I would say that I would love for Allie to do something. I really feel strongly this will probably be
Yeah,
his last year. I'm just with
Yeah.
all the people coming up,
yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much coming up, and he doesn't get a lot of playing time. I'm grateful he's there just because he's like, he's my Vasilev, right?
Hmm.
So, but yeah, so if I want this team, not just Allie, but this team with Allie to lift something, and if that means going all in on the Open Cup to do it, I'm there for it. And also because we did made such a fuss about not having Open Cup at all last year.
Right.
Like that's more of a footnote to me. But I
Mhm.
want Allie to lift something. And if Open Cup is the more, let me say, likely of the two, that's a very pragmatic thing to say, I guess. But then I'm all for going in all in on it.
Yeah.
And when
And
is the Open Cup final?
Let's see. Nope, I got it
is it,
right here
when
in
is
my
it?
computer. It is Wednesday, October
Yeah.
1st.
So it's really
So,
drawn out.
yeah,
but it's before the end of the season.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not like, if the Union continue as hot as they are,
Hmm.
and
After the Open Cup final, you would only have NYCFC and Charlotte.
but if they've already locked up a playoff position and they're not, um,
That's a good
fighting
point.
for playoff placement, it's an easy one for them to say, yeah, we're going to go all in on the Open Cup. Now, you ask, what do I want to see for the rest of the season, and do I want to see them go all in on the Open Cup? I mean, obviously, the easy thing is I think they're going to have more points at the end of this season than they did last year, seeing as how they're 3 points behind their entire season total
Hmm.
from
I
last
Yeah,
mean,
year.
Right.
yeah,
yeah, I mean, even with this tough stretch coming up, they got some tough games coming up here in June, beginning of July. I mean,
Hmm.
you're gonna get out of the summer. I mean, I think I predicted what was it like? Even if they hold chalk to my predictions, they're still at like 53 points. And
Yeah,
that's like they lose a whole bunch of matches coming up. They're
Yeah.
still gonna be at
yeah,
53 points.
that's
Hmm.
only 19 more points for the last
Exactly.
17 games.
Exactly. That's yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's been a wildly successful season.
Hmm.
I don't remember offhand what everybody had predicted for the Union for at the start of the season, but I think
Uh,
we're going to well exceed that.
I had 42 points. I had 42 points. I started out at 42 and then I said, okay, maybe they'll get to 48 with a couple breaks. Right now I'm
I don't know
looking.
anybody who wasn't conservative, Kyle, so it's not,
yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
have to feel alone on
yeah,
that.
Oh
yeah,
no, I think there's a lot of us. A
Yeah, I
lot of
think
yeah.
us
it's
in the
most
press
people.
box that I think who was it? Somebody said it was 26 points. They're like, this is a 26-point team.
Well,
Yeah.
they were wrong.
Oh
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were. And people kept those receipts. Like they're like,
Oh,
oh, yeah, they
I felt
posted about it.
bad for
Yeah, they posted about it on Twitter and
Hey,
stuff.
they have 27 points.
Yes.
So if the Union continue to do well, I do think that they're going to favor the playoffs than
Oh,
the
for
over
sure.
the Open Cup. Would I can't disagree with that. In all honesty, yes, I get where E is telling it'd be nice to exercise that demon and finally win one. But I don't see them doing it, and I'm okay with that decision. Now, if they end up going and going all in on the cup and they win it, that's awesome. But I don't think they're going to want to go all in on the cup and then lose out in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
yeah. I,
You know,
I, I,
okay.
I agree. it's that, you know, season's over. We're looking back, and you kind of ask yourself the question, like, which one do you feel better about? If they had gone all in for the Open Cup, they didn't make it, or they did make it, but then that kind of compromised their postseason, and they didn't make it for MLS. You'd be like, we shouldn't have done that. We should have played a little bit more
Mhm.
conservative, save it for the playoffs, and win the MLS Cup. So, um, Yeah, just to give you a final answer, should they go all in on the Open Cup? Well, it's kind of like was that Few Good Men? Only if
Mhm.
you see an opening and you can go for it. Otherwise, back off, save it for MLS Cup. But
That's fair.
yeah,
Hmm.
That's a fair point. I mean, my whole thing is that you got 3 matches till you could potentially lift the Open Cup.
yeah,
If the
It's
Union
within reach.
it's within
it is.
reach,
Mhm.
It is.
Right.
and we don't know how the supporter shield's gonna turn out. I'm not saying the Union don't go for both, but if
Right.
Yeah,
you can realistically maybe reach that pinnacle and get that cup in those 3
Mhm.
matches, and maybe you drop a point or two, and maybe you don't get the shield,
They're still a playoff team,
they're
I
still a
think.
playoff
yeah,
Yeah.
team,
still
and you
playoff.
still can
100%.
go back and win the
Yeah.
cup. You can
Yeah.
still
Yeah,
go win
Hmm.
the cup and maybe get the U.S. Open Cup. I
yeah,
I would love
yeah,
for them to give a wholehearted run on the Open Cup,
yeah,
but if you get to that point where you need to make sure you're also keeping up on those standings, because let's be honest, the years the Union were successful, they had majority of home field advantage.
Hmm.
yeah,
So I think it's I would like to see him make an honest effort run for the cup, and
yeah,
then, but at the
Yeah.
same time, kind of like what Vancouver did with this CONCACAF Champions Cup. They kept on high level within the league, but they still made a push to win that cup.
Yeah.
That'd be the perfect case scenario because
yeah,
you're looking at a team like Philadelphia, you're looking at a team like Vancouver. Neither team spends particularly a lot, and you're now seeing them both have the success that they do.
yeah,
Um,
Hmm.
Maybe that's a new model. I don't know. But
yeah,
I think this team, like you said, is a playoff team. Blake's health obviously is good for a couple points here and there. But I think fans should enjoy this time. Now, could it get rough? Everybody's saying, well, Red Bull system, they tend to drop off. Even if they do tend to drop off, they're still going to probably be in that top four
Hmm.
to five range. I don't see it happening.
yeah. I think if they can keep healthy
Hmm.
Hmm.
with Carnell's versatile system he's got going, I
Hmm.
think it's our best shot.
That's
You
a good
know,
point.
I
Hmm.
think because it does spread the load around across a larger pool of players,
Hmm.
and I think that could serve us very well. Heck, maybe just go for the triple crown. Get the
There
cup,
you go.
get the shield, and you get almost.
That'd be the easiest
Could you,
way.
man?
Could you imagine? Whoo!
Yeah.
Win the whole damn thing.
That would be
Yeah.
Yeah.
something.
I love that Major League reference right there. You know what we're gonna do, guys? He's gonna win the whole damn thing.
Hmm.
Ah. Anyway, this has been fun, as always. Thank
Hmm.
you guys so much for coming
Uh,
on.
Oh,
Where can people find
guys,
you at?
that's a good question.
Chrissy, you're
Uh,
you're you're a webmaster. You
I
wanna?
know, I'm falling
Yes.
down. So we are, you can find us at morephillyunion.com. Email us if you'd like at pod@morephillyunion.com, but really on socials, we're More Philly Union on Instagram, YouTube. We still on YouTube? We're still on YouTube,
We are
sure.
still on
Uh,
YouTube.
Instagram, YouTube, Threads, and Blue Sky. So you can
Yeah,
find us there.
Well, thank you again. This is always fun.
yeah.
So
This is
Thank
we'll
you.
we'll have to get
Yes.
this is
together
awesome.
again come the fall. As we head
Yeah,
into that final stretch, we'll have to get in one more time and then probably come together at the end of the year. So
we
Maybe
should
we
do
do
like
a U.S. Open, a pregame before the U.S. Open Cup
if they
final, and
make
you
the
it's all
finals, we
eight
will do
pro.
a pregame.
yeah,
Or
Yes,
right.
have
we will definitely have to
pregame
revisit
Yeah.
that.
episodes.
Yeah.
So
Yes, for
That'd be
sure.
awesome.
all right.
All
And
right.
that's it for this episode of One Team We Agree On.
Yeah, so make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on our various socials. You can find us again wherever you get your podcasts. And you can subscribe to our website. There is a spot on there to subscribe so that you can get our latest articles right to your inbox. And please leave us comments though on YouTube or on our podcasts or on our website. We enjoy hearing from you and spread the word, of course. And again, thanks to Moorfield Union for coming on with
Yeah,
us. Always a pleasure. Make sure you go check
Uh,
out their work as well. And
absolutely.
yeah, so
Yes. Support fellow independent media in the podcast sphere, as I like to say.
yeah.
And you and I will be back later this week. So as you're listening, keep your eye out for another episode later this week.
yep.
And until next time, I'm Kyle,
I'm Jillian.
and we'll see you at the game.